Good morning. In less than an hour, this podcast Takes Tokens will be streamed by others from all around the world, and we will be launching the greatest podcast in this history of mankind. Mankind. That word should have new meaning for all of us today. We can't be consumed by boring entertainment anymore. We will be united in our common interests. Perhaps it's fate that today is the 4th of July, and we will once again be fighting for our freedom, not from tyranny, oppression, or persecution, but freedom to enjoy our hobbies in any way we choose. We're fighting for our right to live, to experience. And should we win the day, this podcast Takes Tokens will no longer be known as just an American podcast, but a podcast where the creators and listeners declared in one voice, we will not be quiet recording in the night. We will not be bored without a fight. We're going to discuss the things we've loved all our lives. Today, we celebrate This Podcast Takes Tokens.
All right. Woo!
Oh, shoot.
Your local video store card.
A comic book in your back pocket.
Games with no tutorials.
Music you had to discover.
And drinking water straight from the hose.
These are the things us millennials remember fondly. We are the Jennings brothers.
Join us after the streetlights come on
as we race our bikes from the top of the hill
right down memory lane.
Exchange those quarters because this podcast takes tokens.
Okay, so as you all have probably, hopefully guessed from my reworking of Bill Pullman's incredibly inspiring speech, we are going to be discussing the movie Independence Day, just in time for our Independence Day. So,
that's right.
Yeah, we're excited about this.
The original.
The original, yes, which I had no idea until I was doing some research for this, that there was a sequel that
oh really
I had no clue.
Just slipped right past you.
Well, apparently from the reviews I saw on it, it was worth not knowing.
You didn't miss much. I haven't seen it myself either. I watched this one right here this week, and I thought about going back and watching the second one, and I was like, I got other things I got to do. And then I discovered Fallout, and so I've been...
Oh, no. Oh, my gosh.
But we can get back to that.
Yeah, I love me some Fallout. So before we get started, I do want to ask you a question. You know, we've got this kind of tradition going on, and sometimes it's related to the podcast or the theme of whatever we're doing. Sometimes it's not. In this instance, it is. So think back to when we were kids. Like you were 13 and I was like 7, or whatever. We are going to Aunt Kathy's for the 4th of July, and she's taking us to Kelly's Fireworks to pick out our fireworks. So you're that age, not today's age, you're that age. What fireworks are you getting that are going to be like your go-to fireworks for the 4th of July? So
I already got my answer, but I'll hold on
yeah,
to it.
We'll hold off on it because
it has not changed.
I've got mine too. So, all right, but until then, we are going to discuss Independence Day, released on July 2nd, 1996. So, in tradition with our summer blockbuster movie rewind, we still haven't got that nailed down yet, but. Maybe whatever. So it did come...
I thought about it. It's the... Damn it, I lost it.
Yes. So it did come out between last week of April and Labor Day. So we've got that box checked. Okay, so budget on this, $75 million. It grossed Worldwide, 817.4 million. Absolute blockbuster.
I think that's like probably one of our highest.
Yes, it is. Runtime of 145 minutes, starring hot off the heels of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air series that wrapped up in 1996. Will Smith. I meant to do the research on this, and I honestly forgot about it. I'm not sure if this was Will Smith's first major movie? No. Okay. I know,
No. His, because he had, I can't remember if it was before or after this, but Bad Boys came out.
Oh, yeah.
He had a hell of a run.
Oh, yeah.
Right here, because it was like, he had Bad Boys that came out around the same time. He did the Independence Day movie. My mouse is scrolling really slow, so I can't get down to the bottom of my IMDb fast enough. Men in Black around the same time. Okay, so he did. Bad Boys came out so 95.
Okay.
Let's back it up. 93, he did 6 Degrees of Separation. That was, I think, a pretty significant film for him as far as like acting. He got to show a lot of chops in that one. He was still doing Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Then 1995 rolls around, he does Bad Boys. 1996 rolls around, you got Independence Day. 1997, you got Men in Black. 1998, you've got he's doing a lot of music videos at the time. Oh, Enemy of the State, which I thought was a really great movie. Then 1999, we get Wild Wild West.
Come on. Now, I knew that was going to come up. I am one of the rare people, I think, that liked that movie, but I was like 12 at the time, and I haven't done a rewatch.
It was a weird movie.
We will have to do a rewatch on that sometime, because my opinion will probably change.
I mean, I won't say it's his worst movie or it's the worst movie ever. It could have been better, but it could have been worse, and it probably wasn't as good as it could have been. And all that to say that, like, yes, I there's a part of me that enjoyed it because I enjoy movies, I believe, on a more broad level than a lot of folks. Like, most people will go into a movie, and if it's not what they're expecting, then they're not happy. Or if it's not, hitting whatever metric that they're looking for whatever reason, they can't suspend disbelief on whatever sticking point it is. Whereas I'll go into a movie and watch a movie, and if it's not what I expected, I can roll with it. If it's not, I'm not expecting, I can suspend disbelief pretty easily, and tend to, with movies, just take them at face value. I don't dig too deep into them usually. I don't think too deep on them, especially the first viewing. Just like what it is, let it come to me. As long as what they sold me is what they deliver, I'm pretty happy usually. I like a good popcorn movie, like a good, just fun movie. Like, one of my favorite movies was always like Last Action Hero, which a lot of people give guff to because, it wasn't maybe the best movie or whatever. It has its flaws, but it was a lot of fun. It was a good popcorn movie, and that's what I love, is just a good popcorn movie. Just a movie I can go into, suspend disbelief, and just have a little fun with.
That's me. Like, I mean, there's movies like, Gladiator, for instance, that I really enjoy, and it's got it's a good, solid, like, movie where you're emotionally invested and stuff like that. Yeah. But at the heart of everything, I just want to be entertained when I watch a movie. Just entertain me for an hour and a half or 2 hours. And if that is all the movie accomplishes, then that's fine. And I feel that way about this movie. Like, it wasn't, I don't think it, on a rewatch, I didn't think it was as good as I remembered it being. But for the 145 minutes that I watched it, I was entertained by it. I wasn't ever like, I got to turn this thing off, or whatever. Yeah.
I'm getting really bored here, or I can do without like this big section of it, or whatever. Yeah, there's very few movies that I think I've only walked out of 2 movies. believe in my life that I can recall. One of them was 10 Cup, and it wasn't anything to do with the movie. The projector just stopped, and we had to walk out.
Sure, yeah.
And then the other one was about 3 weeks ago. We watched Unfrosted on Netflix. That was pretty rough.
Yes!
I had to turn it off.
Oh my gosh. We did the same thing. Mindy and I watched that, and I'm a big Jerry Seinfeld fan, and she is too. We love it. We've watched through the series like twice together, and we love it. And we watched Unfrosted, and we were like, wow. Like, we got 20 or 30 minutes into it, and we were like,
30 minutes in, you're just like, done.
Like, this is bad. I'm sorry, Jerry, if you're listening, but not your best work. Yeah. But,
no, but I mean, I haven't heard anybody say good things about that movie.
Yeah.
I've only heard people talk about not liking it and shutting it off. But, no, it could be wrong.
You know, I don't know. I wasn't expecting a lot when I went into it. And
no, but I wasn't expecting that.
No. So if you're out there listening and you're curious, I urge you to watch this movie. Let us know if you finished it or not. It's worth the experience.
It's a challenge. See how far you can get.
That's right. See if you can beat us. So yeah, this movie had Will Smith in it, of course, and also starring Jeff Goldblum, which I've said this about a couple other actors, but I think any movie is great if you got Jeff Goldblum in it. Yeah. He plays him. He's really good at playing Jeff Goldblum, and that's okay. He plays about the same character in every movie, but I love the character. He excels at it, and it's great. Bill Pullman as president. I can't remember what his last name. What was he? President? I don't remember.
Bill Pullman.
President Bill Pullman. That's it. Yeah. And then, of course, Cousin Eddie, Randy Quaid.
I know. I put that in my notes too. Cousin Eddie.
He did great.
He always plays Cousin Eddie.
He does, and I love it. It's another thing. Like, it's like Jeff Goldblum. Randy Quaid kind of plays the same character in every movie, but he excels at playing that character, and it works with whatever.
He was playing an alcoholic Cousin Eddie.
Yes. And I was going to make a joke. I was hoping to try to find somewhere where I could connect the two characters and be like, is this really Cousin Eddie? That's up here, but
it very well could be.
So, yeah. Something I found out when I was kind of doing a little research on this, originally, so they had the U.S. military on board for this movie, and they were going to supply them, like, accurate costumes and planes and, or, you know, props and stuff like that. But the filmmakers refused to take out any mention of Area 51, so the military withdrew their support on it. So... if you're a conspiracy theorist, whatever.
Which, I mean, now they've come out and confirmed, so whatever. Yeah. But I was thinking that they were using military planes, because whenever that scene where they go into the Area 51 bunker, I believe, and all the alien ships are, or maybe, I can't remember exactly, it was around that time, and the alien ships start shooting up the airstrip and all the F-18 fighters and all that stuff. If you watch it, like, I noticed upon this rewatch that all the explosions happened fairly far away from the planes. And they were always like little stacks of barrels about 50, 100 yards away from the plane would blow up. But nothing, you know, close to the plane would ever blow up. And then they'd cut away and then cut into a really tight shot of something blowing up. And then you're just led to assume that that was a ship or something like that. But all the practical effects, I should say, took place at a safe distance from all the airplanes. So I thought, I bet they filmed on an actual airbase or something, or were using actual, F-18s or something for that. So I wonder if they were, and then like they changed their mind after the fact or what. But that kind of fits in line with that thought process I was having.
You know, and speaking of like the explosions, I did appreciate the use of practical effects in a lot of this. They used a lot of models and like the explosions of the cities and all that, which I thought still looked good. You know, I mean, clearly they're models, but they looked, I thought it looked really good.
Pretty good. It was hard to tell the difference for sure. Like there was a couple shots where I was like, oh, okay, I can kind of see where that's like a miniature. But as they started panning through it, they played it over with like real, whatever props or whatever it is and people, and then it would kind of like blend and create that illusion a little further to the point where it's like I can't tell what's real and what's fake until once at a certain point it just like it all blends together. But yeah, it looked excellent. I mean, even the aliens looked amazing.
Yeah, they looked fantastic. Like watching it again today, or whatever, you know what I mean. Yeah, they looked really good. I guess they used to get them like slimy, they used KY jelly on them, is what I was reading somewhere. But I had forgotten that the aliens, like I had envisioned the aliens as with the tentacles, and all that stuff, just because it's been probably 20 years since I've watched this movie. And I had forgotten that that was like a suit, like a biological suit that the aliens were in.
Yeah.
That was interesting to me. Just something kind of you don't really think about too much, I guess, in sci-fi. But
no, and then because the suit, it just looked like it's alien, so to us it just kind of looks like a whatever body of whatever creature it happens to be, and then there's actually a little creature inside there, which I don't think they ever. I guess the ones that they had in the test tubes were supposed to be the creatures outside of the bodies.
Yes. Yeah. So you wonder, like, did when they landed in the 40s or when they crashed at Roswell, was that before they had made the suits, to wear? I don't know, because it didn't seem like they had.
Because their ships look the same.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a question I had. Like, apparently they crash landed in the one guy says the 60s, and then later on they say the 50s. But, roughly, 30 to 40 years before this movie takes place, they crash landed here on Earth, and it took them 30 to 40 years to come back and launch their invasion.
I know.
Like, what took them so long?
I know.
Why'd they wait?
There's a lot of things, and we'll get into them, that I can completely pick apart in this movie. But yeah, that's one of them. I'm like, you waited this long until mankind's technology is better. Like we were talking about with Terminator, instead of going back when the technology is, rocks and sticks, we're going to wait a little bit until they've got these, fighter jets and nuclear missiles and all this, which
did nothing.
Yeah, no. Which that guy, the Secretary of Defense, was such a tool.
He couldn't have been more eager to launch that
nuke.
Nuke.
My gosh. And then when it doesn't work, and he's like, well, we can't just give up on this. Like, you're firing nukes.
Let's do another one.
Above, civilian areas, but let's keep just frying our people,
And in the air, too.
Yeah.
So, that's maximum disbursement there.
And that made me wonder. So, the end of the movie, when David and Steve shoot the nuke into the mothership, right? They fly out. The nuke explodes over the Earth. So is all that nuclear fallout going to be pulled in to the atmosphere?
I have no idea.
I don't know. That maybe that's how we get fallout.
Maybe.
The fallout gas.
But then, the thing I was thinking about is they got all those saucers over Earth that they said were 15 miles wide, hovering over these cities that they were about to obliterate. Well, now they're coming and they're crashing down on top of the cities. It just destroyed them anyways.
Yeah.
There was no effort to move them in any sort of way.
And then these highly intelligent aliens that we're supposed to believe are vastly superior to us, they come to conquer the Earth 10 to 15 cities at a time. That's all they have. They have 10 to 15. They never, I don't know how they can't get an accurate estimate on that, but they say there's 10 to 15 of these massive craft. So they destroy.
But whenever it showed the shot from space and all those ships coming off of the mothership, there was more than 10 to 15. There were dozens of them.
Yeah.
Maybe they were just talking about the U.S. Like maybe it was only like 10 to 15 at a time.
Well, now that would make sense. I would be able to believe that if they were going to say, because they led you to believe like they've destroyed almost all of our population and all of our military and everything. And I'm thinking if there's 10 to 15 spacecraft worldwide and you only hit Los Angeles, New York, and D.C., you got a lot of other military installations.
In Houston.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
I was watching that with Allison, and I turned to her and I said, they come after Texas, and the first city they go to is Houston? Not like Austin or Dallas, but Houston. She's like, well, mid-90s, Houston was probably the most populated city in Texas. I was like, okay, maybe, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. No population expert.
No. So I don't recall a whole lot of... there's a score, but I don't recall much of a soundtrack in this. But one thing I do remember that I enjoyed was the use of REM's It's the End of the World as We Know It at the beginning of the movie. I just thought that was super fitting. Of course it was super fitting, but
Which, if you watch the trailer, it's a different song.
Oh, is it really?
It's Everybody Wants to Rule the World.
Oh, really?
In the trailer. Yeah.
I'll have to go back and rewatch the trailer.
Because after I watched the movie, I watched the trailer because I was like, I just want to watch the trailer and like see how it like compares. And that scene, whenever they show the snippets of it, it's Everybody Wants to Rule the World.
Wow.
So they must have got the rights to REM.
Yeah.
94 REM is getting pretty popular. So I don't know, when did that song come out? Did that song come out in 94? Like maybe that song came out and they were like, what was it called again?
End of the World as We Know It. Check it out and see.
End of the World as We Know It, and I'm Feeling Fine. Let's see here. When did that movie... That came out in 1987, so that had been out for a while.
Yeah.
But
maybe they were, like you're saying, maybe they were in the process of getting the rights to use the song or something.
They were just using the other one as a backup until they got the rights, probably.
Yeah. I don't know.
Or test audiences swayed them one way or the other. There's a lot of stuff that goes into these things.
Yeah. So,
but, End of the World is definitely better.
Oh yeah, it is. It's a better choice, I think. Did you notice that? Did you ever watch a lot of the Wonder Years television series?
Yeah.
Okay. Jack Arnold was one of the guys from the Pentagon. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Like that's probably the last thing I think that I've ever, like, most recent thing that I've seen him in. I don't know if he did much else, but I don't know. I thought that was...
He's done a good amount, yeah. I've seen him here and there. But yeah, I noticed that and I was like, oh yeah, that's 94. That was probably, Wonder Years was just wrapping up, or it was around like, it was roughly the time that it was ending, I think. Yeah.
Because I think I
want to say it ended in like
about the same time that
late 80s.
Yeah, late
early
80s
90s.
To the early mid 90s or something like that.
Yeah.
But, kind of like
so that makes sense.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. They kind of ran at the same time.
Yeah.
Another thing I wondered about. So obviously they didn't tell the president about them finding the bodies, in the 40s or whatever. That was on like a plausible deniability, I think, is whatever they said.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you think...
That's not entirely true.
Wouldn't you think that once we get contact with extraterrestrial life, that you would be telling the president about that?
Well, I mean, that's what one of them said.
Yeah.
He was Judd Hirsch's character. He said, why didn't you mention this whenever they landed or something like that? And he's like, well, it's need to know information. He's like, I think we need to know it.
Yes, yeah.
It all comes back to that same guy though, which Allison made a good. I can't take credit for it, so I'm gonna give her credit for this, but whenever he gets fired, she said, how bad does the end of the world, how bad do you have to be at your job to be fired at the end of the world?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, the president, though, he is like, Bill Pullman is such a Boy Scout. Like, he's like, we could have saved lives, or we could have, like, I don't know. It seemed like every action he took, I'm just like, this guy is like, he's all about just doing what's right, just a straight arrow, and
yeah.
But nobody
I
likes
feel
him.
like he was very
Apparently.
much written to be like the quintessential. Like they didn't give him a party affiliation.
No.
Like there was no like real politics to him at all. But he was a leader.
Yeah.
He was the leader that we needed in this movie, and it was just like tailor made for him.
Yeah. We got that speech.
So if we ever get a president like that, I'm watching the skies.
Right.
They're coming.
Those things, when they came down from the sky, like, were terrifying. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Like looks
big, stormy, fiery
like
clouds.
biblical. These things just like,
Yes.
it was just nuts. Like, I can't imagine sitting. Well, that was so. These spacecraft are over these cities, and people see them rolling in, and like Vivica A. Fox is still going to work.
Yep.
It makes sense that Steve goes to work, he's in the military, but you would think like just Joe Schmo, out there that, works at a gas station is going to be like, I think I'm going to stay home today. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't imagine all that going down. I have no idea how I would react or because I mean like not to compare but we all did just go through like 4 years ago this big massive thing that impacted us on a global level. To some extent it instilled similar fears and anxieties and feelings that I think you would have when this is going on, but at the same time this happened in a moment. For the world, for the more or less, this all happened within a few minutes. Suddenly, everybody's exposed, or everybody knows what's going on and what's happening. Whereas, 4 years ago, whenever COVID rolls out, it was kind of slow until, it was just like little bits here and there, and like every week it was just like 1 week at a time, and all this other 1 day at a time. And so we were kind of like. I almost want to say like a frog in water. You just put the frog in water, you turn on the water, and it starts to boil. The frog doesn't notice it because he's in the water as it's coming to a boil. Whereas this was more the Independence Day. That's more of like the water's already boiling and you're throwing the frog in there, so he's panicking. But yeah, like that. I don't know how I would react. I feel like we were close, but it wasn't anything like what you'd see on this scale. I don't know.
Wasn't spacecraft coming down from the sky and just...
No.
Can you imagine being...
I was trying to draw a conclusion there, but I can't. I can't even with that.
Those people that are on the roof of that building, and they're like, beam me up. And then they just...
Can you imagine the last thought as the beam comes down?
Well, this was the wrong decision. Speaking of,
I made a mistake.
How fast... So the explosion hits, specifically in Los Angeles, and the fire is just burning, right? It is going. And somehow Jasmine is able to get her boy and her dog out and run from this and get to safety.
Oh, it's amazing how much people can outrun fireballs in movies.
Yes. I don't know. Maybe they're not as fast as we think they are.
I don't know. But the thing that got me is she outruns the fireball.
Yeah.
Fine. I can buy into that for the sake of the movie. But then the dog, who's way behind her, outruns it as well, dives into the room that she's in, doesn't like kick the door closed behind him or anything like that. And then this fireball sweeps by and it doesn't go in the room with him.
That's like Twister, right? where they're in the back of the shed or whatever that is, and it doesn't.
Everything falls apart around them,
yeah.
but the pipe stays, and they're able to hold on for dear
Came
life.
out the same year, I think. So maybe it's just maybe that's the mentality stuff.
Maybe it's a thing.
But what was the point of that dog? Like that whole scene, like the dog. Oh, we got to get the dog in here. We never see that dog again. Like.
In the background.
Is he in the background? I don't even like. There was no plot point for him, like other than to show, I think, a slow motion scene of the dog jumping and getting his tail almost burned. You know, from the fireball. And there was.
I think that's it.
Go ahead.
I think that's it. I think it was just to show the dog diving in because if you want to have three or four, you want to have 3 of 5 things in your movie. You want to have God. You want to have country. You want to have a dog. You want to have a baby.
Yeah.
And if you got like 2 or 3 of those, then you're good to go, man.
You're good, especially in the 90s.
Yeah.
But there was so many. There was. I guess I've got 2 thoughts here. There was a lot of those like quick slow-mo scenes that I thought were just borderline laughable. Like it was like at the end of, I'm thinking like when they got the first lady, when they find her, when they're pulling the stuff off of her, and like she kind of like moves her head at normal speed and then it slows down for like half a second, and it's just like those little things. They did that several times throughout the movie. I don't know, to emphasize whatever, but I thought it was just laughable, and it's not necessarily a slight at the movie. Like that was a big thing back in I feel like the 90s. They did a lot of slow-mo shots. I don't know if the technology was just new then, or I don't know.
I think it was an editing thing. I think it was an editing trick to fill a couple of frames so you can hold that beat for just a little longer before either the camera was cutting away or something came into the frame or whatever the case may be, because they didn't have as much special effects or VFX to fix things in post like that. So you would maybe hold the frame for a beat or 2, or like if somebody's still talking or whatever the case may be, just so that you're not jarring the audience visually by cutting away to something else too quickly or whatever the case may be. I think it's an editing thing for a time before we had the VFX in place to extend that scene a beat or 2 artificially. As opposed to just kind of like maybe hold the frame or duplicate the frame or something.
Sure. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
It's not that exciting.
No, it's not. It's not. The other thing that I was thinking about that was in my mind was there. I feel like there was a couple like needless subplots in this movie. One of them being Harry Connick Jr. in the movie is like Steve's wingman. Like I feel like he was only really there to emphasize that Jasmine was an exotic dancer, because he's like there for that one scene. I mean, I know they're flying and he gets killed, but like there's that one scene where he's like, I don't care how much you love her, you can't marry her because of what she does, and
that and a little comic relief. He was there for a little comic relief. Yeah. I think he was there to play off of Will Smith a little bit. Maybe there was a little bit more to him. But I also think that whenever they were writing this movie, they're like, okay, what profession is Will Smith's character going to be? And they're like going down the list, and they're like, oh, maybe he should be in the military, so he's kind of in the know. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, then that puts him in direct contact with the aliens whenever they invade. Where in the military should he be? Oh, let's put him in the Air Force because, we're going to have plane battles. That'll look really cool on screen. Let's do jets. Yeah, F-18s, great. F-18s, F-16s, let's do some Tomcats, whatever. That'll look fantastic on film. Oh, it was a good movie about jets? Top Gun.
Yes!
It was best. You know what? You had Ice and you had Goose. Iceman and Goose, we got to have an Iceman. We got to have a Goose, right? Yeah. So I think that this was like, they needed a pilot that they could kill off and kind of hit those same beats and try and pull at those same emotional strings. I think that's all it was. Somebody was like, what was a good movie? Top Gun.
Let's replicate that a little bit on a sci-fi level. Yeah.
Maybe that's how the whole movie started. They're like, what if in Top Gun some aliens come down from space and invade at the same time?
It's a little too sci-fi. Let's. But what relationship I did like in the movie was David and his father.
Yes.
I love, like, when you
Great
first
banter.
see him.
Judd Hirsch is just always.
Oh
fantastic.
yes. I love when you first see him when they're playing chess, and he's like, he asks David, he's like, what are you doing? And he's like, what was it?
He kept calling him a cable repairman.
Yeah, cable repairman, and he was talking about the cup. Like, he's like, I can't believe you drink out of this styrofoam cup. You know how long it takes for those to decompose? And he's like, decompose? Yeah. I'm going to decompose by the time you make a move. Chess game.
And he's like, oh, that'll be checkmate. Yeah. He's like, that's not checkmate. That's not checkmate.
And they had them together the whole movie. I thought that was just such a great pairing. I loved every scene that they were in together. They just played off each other so well.
Yeah. You could really buy into them being like father and son. It was a good, great pairing for sure.
It was. So Brent Spiner as
Spiner?
Is it Spiner?
Spiner? I thought it was Spiner.
Okay, well,
Spiner.
Spiner. Data from the next Star Trek: The Next Generation as Dr. Okun. Fantastic.
Yes. But just a weird guy.
Oh, yeah.
But awesome. Like, you could totally buy that he's been living underground for the last 20 years.
Well, he even says it. He's like, oh, they don't let us out very much.
Yeah.
And he's talking about, like, it's been really exciting the last few days. And the president's like, exciting? People have been dying up there. And just, I don't know, he looked just the part of, like, a mad scientist. And that scene where they're trying to cut that biosuit off, and you've got, like, all the tentacles flipping around, the steam's going, and then he gets thrown up against the glass, and they're, like, talking, through his vocal cords with the tentacles. So I assumed he died in that scene, but I thought I saw, when I had found out that there was a sequel, I thought I saw that he was in the sequel. So
I think he is.
And I think the sequel is called Resurgence, so I'm assuming, well, it's a sequel, not a prequel. So I guess he didn't die, but they sure played it off like he did. So I wonder if, like, they're like, because I know they got Jeff Goldblum for the sequel. And, they couldn't get Will Smith or whatever, and I'm sure they were like, we need a little more star power from the first one. Maybe we just bring Dr. Okun back and just say he didn't die or something. I don't know. I'd have to watch it to see.
Well, I think, like, whenever the alien was wrapped around his neck, I don't think it was tapped into his vocal cords. I think it was ESP. Because they said that these creatures most likely communicate telepathically. Okay. So I think it was tapped into. And then whenever it was talking to the president, suddenly the president, like, was like, his head hurt and everything like that, and he keeled over. I think he mention that whenever the alien was in his mind that he knew their plans, like he could see their plans. Yeah, so there's they definitely have like a telepathic ability, and I think that's how he's communicating. I think he was just holding Brent Spiner, the scientist, in suspension, just kind of like keeping him just unconscious. And I think that's all. Whenever he dropped him, he was just unconscious. He wasn't like dead or anything like that. Is my theory.
That must be. But I remember not seeing him anymore in the movie, so I had just assumed that they'd strangled him and they'd killed him. But I guess they needed to bring him. Roland Emmerich needed to bring him back, because I think he directed the second one too. You remember? So when Will Smith takes the helicopter, and that soldier is like, pointing a gun at him, he's like, I can't let you take it, and he's like, just tell him I hit you, or whatever. And he takes off. How did he find Jasmine out of all the
all that
mess. He just like, next scene, cut, boom. He just plops down right where she's at. I'm like, what?
I imagine he's military minded, and he knew where she worked, and he's a pilot, so he can get around without, like, he doesn't need Waze or Maps.go or anything like that, or I don't know, what would you use back in the day of one of the paper maps? I forget what they were called. McNally. You don't need a McNally map or anything like that. He knows the land without having to know the roads. So I imagine he knew where she was and about when she was going to leave, when the explosion happened, so about where she would be when it happened. And then probably started searching that area, saw the fires that they had built to keep themselves warm or cook or whatever at night. And there probably weren't, which I find it hard to believe that everything wasn't on fire still from that big explosion. Like, everything just burned out in a couple hours. Yeah. And that was the only fire that was going. We're going to go with that, sure. And that's what he tracked down, is that fire. But it may have been like a day or two. Was it the same day?
I would assume, because how long is that helicopter going to have fuel? I mean, he can't just be flying around for days in that thing.
Well, yeah, I meant like... Oh, yeah, because the invasion... Yeah, this whole movie took place in, like, what, 48-hour span or something like that?
Yeah, 2nd, 3rd, and then the 4th of July. Yeah, it was like I think no, it was early morning on the 2nd. So it was 72 hours, basically. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so that's my assumption. If I'm going to suspend disbelief, I'm going to believe that, he's knowledgeable enough to kind of track her down to, a few miles, let's say, like a good 10-mile radius, and you're in a helicopter, you can kind of like see where life is. Be my assumption.
I don't know. I thought, man, that's some really hound dog work, just zeroing in exactly where she's at.
But if you want to buy into the movie even more, it was love. Love brought him together.
That's right.
It was radar love.
That's right. He's got to marry that girl. So he's going to find her. Doesn't matter what.
Get down on one knee.
Right. Did he ever get down on one knee? I don't think he did.
I don't remember or not. I don't remember. Oh, I think like he was just kind of like, I was saving this for, whatever, and then like he kind of showed it to her or whatever. Or no, that was during the wedding that he gave.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I don't think we ever saw the proposal. No. I think it was just like then one like they were like, okay, we're gonna fly up there, and then you're just assuming, oh, they're gonna rush the wedding because before he flies away,
they want to be married off. So when they did fly away though, like that. So my favorite part of this movie is that last section, where it really starts where they're at the hovercraft and David puts the can up there, which I wonder how the shielding works. If it's like kinetic, because he's able to like reach through it basically and put the can up on the ship.
There was another movie, a sci-fi movie. You might be able to help me. I was trying to think of it during this because I had kind of similar thoughts. And I was like, oh yeah, wasn't there some movie that was like the shields work like almost kinetically? If you come at it with high force, you're going to bounce off of it. But if you ease into it, you can go through the shield. Dune? I hadn't watched Dune.
You haven't watched Dune. Well, that works with Dune, like with the shielding. Like I remember there was a scene where they like ease a knife through the shielding, but so I guess it's probably not a new concept if we can think of, Dune. I mean, the book came out in like the '60s, so maybe Frank Herbert's the one that came up with that. But yeah, I don't know. But I did like that scene where he's got the can and then he has him fire, which was kind of foolhardy because that bullet ricochets and there's two children in that room.
A president,
and the president, and David knew it was going to ricochet, but I guess he tried to punch.
That's okay.
He punched the president once. Yeah, it's okay. And I was reading somewhere that scene Well, a lot of scenes, but that one in particular, like Jeff Goldblum wasn't given a lot of dialogue. He just kind of ran with it,
riffed,
and I guess that gives you the Jeff Goldblum kind of this, or whatever he does. Yeah. I don't know. I love that guy so much.
Thinking on the fly.
Yeah. Have you seen that? He's got that show. I think it was just one season. It was like on Disney Plus, and he's just going around like
exploring different nations or something like that.
Yeah.
I saw it. I haven't watched it, but I saw it.
It's pretty good. I mean, it's just more Jeff Goldblum, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yes. So that starts there up until like, the finale and everything. And the whole firefight is done really well. I think, when they're like on Earth where they're flying at the ship and they're trying to hit it. And then they're like, okay, let's try one more. Well, the president try one more time. And he actually hits the ship and they're like, all right, we're in this. Now, what I didn't get though, you go ahead.
I was going to say, coming back to the can thing, whenever they did the can trick, he turned on the shields, shot at the can, ricocheted off. Then he turns off the shields, like he's going to do in the end, and the next bullet goes right into it.
Yeah.
There is no having to break down that shield first, which is what they have to do with the mothership. They had to fire the one.
Or was it that it just took a few seconds for the signal to come from the mothership down to the other ships?
Oh, I assumed it was they had to launch one to take down the shield and then another, and then they could go to town on it.
I was under the assumption it was just like a delay from...
Oh, okay.
But...
I guess it could go either way.
Either way. I guess it doesn't make any difference. They still destroy the ship. But what I didn't get is... So they know the shields are down. So they're just using all their missiles on just these little peon...
That's what
things.
I thought
I'm like, why are you doing like when clearly later when
you've got 4?
Yeah, and when Russell is like having to do his suicide run, they are like, let's plow the road, and they're just using their guns to destroy these things. Like, what a waste!
You could have been doing that the whole time.
Done it. Russell could be alive, but
in rehab,
yes,
getting his life together.
Yep. But he died a hero.
No,
I mean, that guy was a true American hero.
Cousin Eddie.
Yeah. Sacrificing himself for the greater good. It was perfect. Yeah.
I guess, did he not come back for any of the vacation movies after that?
That
might lend credence to your theory.
Yeah. I had to see when Vegas Vacation came out, and then we would know. Yeah.
Vegas Vacation. They're in Vegas. That's it. Area 51. It's out there, kind of close to Vegas.
One last hurrah before he goes and does this. And I thought it was really funny, that whole storyline of him being abducted by aliens earlier in his life, which kind of has led him, I assume, to his drinking problem, right? And the guys are just making fun of him about it, asking him if the aliens did any experiments on him and stuff like that. And even when there is clearly...
Aliens are confirmed.
What's that?
When the aliens are confirmed.
When the aliens are confirmed. They're right there. People are still laughing at him. Even when he comes up and they're like the military is asking for pilots. And he's like, I can fly. I'm a pilot. And they're asking him like what he did.
It's great delivery.
Oh, it's great, yeah. And they're asking him,
I'm a pilot.
They're asking him what he did, and he's giving him his background about flying in Vietnam and stuff. And he's like, on another note, I'd like to talk about
on a personal level.
And they're like rolling their eyes. I'm like, you're getting ready to go and fight these things. You know they exist.
You know they've been there since the 50s.
They've been there since, and you're rolling your eyes at this story. Like, this guy is... How more credible can you get than right now, But he gets the last laugh, I guess, so to speak.
I guess so, yeah. Up yours.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, this movie had a lot of great, one-liners that came out.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Welcome to Earth.
Will Smith with Welcome to Earth, yeah, or you know, is there anything I can help you with, son? No, I'm just a little anxious to get up there and kick ET's butt, sir.
That's what I call a close encounter. The fat lady, she's singing. We got to get at it.
She's singing. You're obsessed with the fat lady.
That scene was great. I loved when they were flying together, and like
they had some good.
Yeah, they did. And he's telling him, "Oh no, they're going to be able to see us." He's like, "Oh no, this baby comes fully loaded. You know, power windows." And then when the aliens take control and they open those windows up and they look at each other and they're just like, hide. Like,
whoa, crap.
What are you gonna? How are you gonna hide?
Yeah. It's just duck behind the seats.
Yeah.
Not like we just got this ghost ship that flew itself back with all this plate metal welded to it, and the aliens just be like, yeah, sure,
yeah.
That tracks. And
the nuke they give them, they could put any amount of time on that thing. They give them 30 seconds.
Oh yeah, 30 seconds.
Like, what? You guys are like,
I think they're afraid that the aliens are going to disarm
Maybe,
it.
I guess. Like you are like hoping these guys don't come back. Yeah, maybe that's the president's way of getting back at David hitting him.
They're like, Mr. President, we can put up to 5 minutes on here. How much of a delay do you want to give it?
30 seconds. So does mankind, after this all happens, they've destroyed these ships, which, side note, they're sending all this information on how to destroy the ships to the different countries, and it shows like Russia, right? And the Russians are talking, they're like, oh, the Americans have figured out how to take this down. I'm like, there's no way Russia would be like taking credit for this. Like, there's no way they'd be listening to anything the Americans are saying. They're like, nah, that's wrong. We're going to try our own way to destroy this thing.
I just like how the British were like, oh, the Americans have a plan? Well, it's about time they came up with something. It's like, okay, well, everybody was just waiting on us.
Yeah,
apparently.
I guess so.
We're definitely the heroes of this movie.
Yes.
I'm surprised they didn't destroy a lot more. They destroyed the White House, but they didn't bother like taking out, like the Eiffel Tower, Great Wall of China, Sydney Opera House, like
Kremlin.
none of these other, the Kremlin, nope, White House, and that's the only one.
That's it. That's
downtown LA, New York.
So after all this happens, then they've got like clearly alien technology. Like, the government's not going to be able to stop everybody from stealing this.
Oh yeah.
So do people start reverse engineering this, and
I gotta imagine so,
space travel takes off after this? 1996. Fast forward 3 years to 1999, and we're in space before the year 2000. Like, colonizing space, I should say, before the year 2000.
I mean, maybe that's what we need to watch the second one for.
Maybe.
Out, what they do, what happened.
I will be
very
disappointed if they're still stuck on Earth in the second one.
They just can't
do it.
Can't
do it.
out.
This technology is it's too far beyond us. We can't figure it out.
Like before they figured out the whole virus thing, and they were still under the impression that, maybe these aliens are here for good. They're gonna help us out, or we can like reach out and like communicate. And they send up that helicopter with the big lights on it, and they just start flashing lights at it.
Right.
What if they? Who's to say this alien knows Morse code or whatever it is that you're just flashing random patterns at it? For all you know, you're sending it signals that say, "Hey, we're going to attack you unless you attack us first," or F you or whatever, and just instigating this whole thing into a worse situation.
Here's the thing, though: we have done that in real life, right? We have sent a satellite out that is now beyond our solar system, I believe, and it is playing music. It has pictures of what we look like and everything. And I'm wondering, how are the aliens going to read this? Are they going to misinterpret it as, hey, we're sending this out to find you and kill you?
This is our homing beacon. We're going to hunt you down. We're going to take you out unless you can take us out first. Oh, yeah, by the way, here's a map of the stars and where we are within those stars. Man,
I don't know.
humans just aren't very smart when it comes to dealing with aliens.
No, we're not. I think we should just leave well enough alone and, stop trying to. We've got those huge satellites. Are they down in Texas? There's those huge satellites that are like, I can't remember. I think they're in Texas. I may be wrong, but they are like, or maybe it's Nevada. They are trying, like, constantly listening to different parts of. They'll move them occasionally, point them in a different direction.
Oh, the dishes.
Yeah. I can't remember where they're at.
I don't remember where those are exactly. But yeah, I think they're all over. I think they got them in a few different places.
I remember I know they've got like a big farm, or they had a big farm of them. Like, it's showcased in Contact, that movie. And then what was that one with Charlie Sheen? Arrival. I think they show a lot of those in Arrival, and I assume that's what.
I mean, I want to say, like, I saw somewhere, or maybe it was the telescopes that we had pointed to stars, but it was like, what we can actually, like, pick up and see and hear is only like a fraction of a percentage or something like that. I mean, it's very small compared to, like, what's out there. It's like a pin in a golf ball, basically.
Yeah, I've seen somebody compare that to, like that. Like, I remember listening to somebody, and they were like, just envision we are building a boardwalk bridge straight into the ocean, and our knowledge is the boardwalk, and the ocean is everything that we don't know. And we're just mindlessly going out there trying to find our way. But yeah, that stuff's interesting to me. It's interesting that just the expanse of the universe, and could there be, say, it's highly plausible there's something out there, like, with a space that big.
There's gotta be.
Let's just hope it's nothing like this.
Yeah.
Or did you?
Or it's several decades before it comes, or several millennia before it comes to face us.
Our ancestors can figure this out.
Yeah, that's a future human problem.
Did you ever see? There's that Twilight Zone episode where spacecraft land on Earth, and they're friendly, and they're helping society. They bring peace to society. They're helping us grow food in, like, deserts, and ending world famine, and all this stuff. And it's just like, wow, like, they're doing incredible things. They're helping us out, and what they're using is a book that's called How to Serve Mankind. And the whole time there's like a team, there's a guy that's trying to decipher this book because it's written in their language, and he's trying to figure out what it says. And they're letting people, now that the earth is green and lush, and everything's great, they're letting people come on board their spacecraft and take them off to their home planet, and one of the main characters is getting on board the spacecraft, and the guy is, like, running towards him, and he's like, "Don't get on the craft." He's like, "Why?" "Because I figure I decoded the book. It's not a help book. It's a cookbook. How to serve mankind."
I've heard that. Okay, I think that was like on. I think that was a reference in one of the Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors. Is like the aliens had the book How to Serve Mankind, and I think I remember it from that. But I've never watched any of the Twilight Zone, so I don't know it from.
They're good. They're good. I've watched several of them. They're pretty good. There's one that I remember watching it. Mindy was trying to fall asleep, and we were watching it, and she was like, I kind of got...
You put him on to put her to sleep?
I kind of nerded out a little bit. I'm like, that's the square from Back to the Future. She's like, how do you know that? I'm like, how many times have I watched Back to the Future? I know that square. And she's like, it's not. I looked it up, and I'm like, it is. It's the square from Back to the Future.
The square?
Yeah, the square.
Oh, the
town square, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Universal had used that. Like, it was just a lot.
Which I saw was actually used in... It was used in Gremlins.
Yeah,
I didn't
realize.
Is.
There's a lot of movies that's been used in. I want to go visit it sometime. I think it's not there in its entirety. I think part of it burnt down But I would love to go visit it sometime. It'd be a fun little trip.
The Universal Backlot
Yeah.
Tour.
Yeah. So have you, Independence Day,
really cool to
do
see.
you remember they had a toy line that came out? I'm not sure if you remember that.
I do not.
Okay, I remember they had the aliens that they had like the biomechanical suits. They had all the little tentacles and stuff like that. That's really the only thing I remember. I think they probably had the ships, and I think they had like Will Smith and stuff like that. But I remember the toys. And then they had a game for PlayStation that was better than it should have been. At least
I don't remember that.
I remember
at all.
yeah. Like it I never so the single player game, I think you were a fighter pilot and you were trying to, like you were flying through like trying to take down those big ships, and you've got all these littler ships that are coming at you. But like what I remember playing a lot was with my stepbrother Luke. We played because we got a PlayStation for Christmas and we got that game with it. And the multiplayer, you were supposed to be pitted against each other for some reason as two fighter pilots and trying to take each other down, but you were underneath one of the ships and all the littler ships were flying around and they would try to attack you too. So we ended up playing it like a co-op game, and we spent hours doing that. Like we would just fly around and try to destroy the alien ships, and we'd play it until we were just bored, and then we'd turn it off because there was there was no like end goal to it. But yeah, that was a fun game. It was a fun game. Obviously it's not remembered very well. It was.
I never knew about it. I never knew. No, I didn't. I don't remember any merchandise for this movie. I would have been 13 when this came out. Yeah, I remember going and seeing it in the theaters. I remember the whole summer, like, everybody was talking about this movie. Like, this was like a big movie, like
$800 and some million.
family members, aunts and uncles, like,
840.
Yeah, like everybody. Yeah, I think this is one of those movies that like most everybody saw at the time. Anybody that likes movies and goes to movies, they probably saw this movie. I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that was under a rock, if you will, for this movie.
Yeah, it was big. I remember it being big.
I don't remember much merchandising. Was there like a cartoon series that came out of this?
Oh, now see, I don't remember that, but maybe there was.
I may be conflating that with like. I don't think there was. I don't remember it, and I'm thinking probably of the art style I'm envisioning is more like late '90s. So. I think I'm thinking of the Godzilla one that they did, the cartoon series for the Godzilla movie.
But which was directed by Roland Emmerich as well. Godzilla was.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, I could see that.
No, Michael Bay, I think, did Armageddon. I don't know. I was looking up movies that he had done, and there were several around that time that were pretty big.
I'm shocked this was not a Michael Bay. It felt
yes.
Early Michael
I had
Bay.
to look it up. Well, I looked it up. I waited to look at the credits because I'm like, this has got to be a Michael Bay movie. And then Roland Emmerich came out.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this
I saw that come up too, and I was like, Roland Emmerich, this is not a Michael Bay, because I thought,
All
this is just a Michael Bay. This is like early Michael Bay for sure.
Yeah.
Because I thought, Will Smith, he did Bad Boys, and then Michael Bay was like, oh yeah, you were good. I got this other movie for you, or something like that. But no, not Michael Bay.
Did Michael Bay do Bad Boys? Really?
I think he did, didn't he?
Oh, I don't know. I'm sure he did. Probably did.
I'm pretty sure that's a Michael Bay. Like that's like a early, that's Michael Bay. Early quintessential.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like a, quintessential Michael Bay movie. Which that one needs to go on our list.
Yes. And there's a new one coming out on that too.
It came out this last week.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, people.
It came out on Allison's birthday.
Did you guys go watch it?
She was like, I do not want to
She
go
did
see
not
it.
want to go see it.
No.
Okay.
She does not like those type of movies. And I was like, that's fine. I'll wait for it to come out.
Yeah. That's the thing, though. Like, I feel like.
She's in the middle of watching Bridgerton right now.
Oh, yeah. Mindy watches that. I'm like, oh, you're watching this. I'm going to go play my PlayStation or something.
I'm going to go do something else.
Yeah. But yeah, I think people give Michael Bay like a lot of hate, and his movies, like we were saying in the beginning of the episode, like a lot of them are just stuff
Just
that
fun.
they're fun, they're entertaining. I don't need I don't need some epic, like, just
I don't need high concept.
give me some explosions, give me some action, and that's fine.
Some good one-liners.
Yep.
It doesn't have to make sense throughout.
Nope.
Just, I don't need to know the backstories. I don't need to have it all buttoned up nice and neat. I don't need to believe that everything worked out in the end. Just, beginning of the movie to the end of the movie. Give me some action. Don't miss the beats.
Yep.
Give me some good one-liners, a little witty back and forth. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Michael Bay excels at it.
That's right.
So, you got any final thoughts on Independence Day?
Yeah, I don't know how, but I gotta mention Harvey Fierstein, Marty, his boss at the paper.
Oh, yes.
Goldblum's boss at the paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. David,
Oh, David,
that guy.
yeah.
Oh, I loved him so much back then. Like everything I saw him in, he was such a character. And so seeing him in this was a little bit of a treat, like seeing him again. It just reminded me of how much I liked him as like a character actor in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like everything he showed up and just like it brought like a whole nother layer to it, and I always enjoyed it. But yeah, I enjoyed his little performance there and I think that's about all I got on the movie. I think we covered most of it, although going back to them taking down these motherships, and he flies the one jet. Randy Quaid's character, Eddie. I don't think his name's Eddie. Russell. That's right, Russell. Cousin Russell flies the F-18 or whatever up the tip in the middle of the spaceship, whatever, with their exhaust port for lack of a better term in the spaceship, and takes out the spaceship. But in the process, blows a hundreds of millions of dollar jet to take down one spaceship. I can't imagine they're doing that for all of them. I imagine it's missiles from there on out. But then are they still launching missiles at the side of it? Because like there was like, once they figured that out, it's just like one missile and you're done.
Oh,
right?
I wouldn't be wasting. Yeah, I'd be like,
I just thought it was kind of odd that like,
and we're gonna, because really the ship itself has one threat, and that is the main weapon on board, the beam. The only thing, like, the only threat you really have from that are the smaller little piloted ships that are coming out of there. So there's nothing stopping you from getting underneath there. You just just fly underneath there, and we're going to do a trench run and get this thing.
A good SAM or something like that, really. You just roll up there with a surface-to-air missile, and you could take it out. I don't think you would even need to fly. But yeah, I just thought it was odd that like they kept launching. Before they figured that out, they kept launching rockets at the side of it. And I'm like, this thing's 15 miles wide, and y'all are hitting it with like little, those little poppers that you throw on the ground, basically. Yeah, you're just spitballing it. Like, you're not really doing... Like, how many rockets do you plan on launching at this thing before you take it down? I guess they were still trying to figure it out, but yeah.
Well, and as I'm getting ready to say this, I'm thinking, well, they were pretty close to the air base, but why... Once they realized that the shield was down, why not try a nuke on it again? I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, why not? I mean, the Secretary of Defense would be all on board with that.
They would be. Might as well, right? I wonder what that would have done, if that would have split it in half or something. I don't know.
We'll never know. Well, I mean, it clearly destroyed
never
the mothership, which was hundreds of times that size.
That was a big explosion for that tiny little nuke. That mothership was like half the size of the moon or something.
Yeah.
And that little nuke
it caused the moon to, like, that first scene when it's coming across the moon, and Neil Armstrong's footprint is just like shaking, and
Which, by the way, like I mean, I'm no expert, but from what I've seen, the way gravity works on the moon, I don't think it would just like vibrate smooth like that.
Right.
I imagine maybe it would like dust up into the air, but it's going to hover. It's not going to just like come. It was very much so Earth gravity that they were displaying there. That kind of bothered me. I was watching it and I was like, that's not gravity on the moon.
Yeah. No.
That's not how moon gravity works. I don't know how moon gravity works, but that's not moon gravity. That's Earth gravity.
Suspend disbelief, Deric. Suspend disbelief.
Suspend disbelief. All right. Okay, I'll suspend disbelief. Well, with that said, we really appreciate y'all coming and joining us on this journey here as we explore some of our favorite things from growing up. So make sure you know what? Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your lawyer.
Yes.
Forget your lawyer. But we appreciate you all the same, and spread the word. We've reached another checkpoint, my friends. But before we go, let's answer some question. Well, let's answer the question.
Let's answer the question. And really there's two questions here, because my first question is, where do we fit our favorite Corey Feldman in this movie? Is he maybe...
Oh, he could have replaced Harry Connick Jr.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yes.
That's it. That's it. He's perfect age right there. Harry Connick Jr.
Yes.
See ya.
Yes. Corey, if you're out there, open invitation to the show. You have you've at least liked one of our comments on Instagram, so you know who we are. We'd love to have you on. So,
yes.
Our other question was, you're a kid, what are your go-to fireworks when you're getting fireworks for the 4th of July? What were the things you had to have?
Yes, for me, it was number one, bottle rockets. I could do so many things with bottle rockets, and a roll of tape is all I needed. I could launch my Hot Wheels cars down the street at 1,000,000 miles an hour, or, send my found G.I. Joes flying into the air. I even learned how I was able to disassemble. I disassembled a couple of bottle rockets, like just sliced them open and looked at how they were packaged and how everything worked in them. And I figured out that the bottom half propelled it, and then the top half was the explosion part. So if I cut off the top half, it would just launch and it wouldn't pop. So then I could my things wouldn't get destroyed. Whenever I launched things, I could just set up the little, I don't know what you call it, the propellant part of it, and launch things off. Of course, they still got singed to all heck and back.
Yeah.
Because not realizing that, the 1,000 degrees of sparks coming out the backside, it's just going to melt some plastic and singe some metal. But I became a little bit of an expert with the bottle rocket. Learned how to light them and throw them, and then they'd launch themselves even higher, because you could throw it up in the air and then it would fire up even higher. Those were always a lot of fun.
And you got a ton.
I liked the...
For like,
I always got like 3 or 4
It was
gross.
like 1,000 for 99 cents. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah, and it was always like, they always had that deal where if you spent $20, which we were always given $20, and if you spent your $20, then they throw in a gross for free.
Yeah.
So you get another gross of bottle rockets on top of it. I still have bottle rockets
from that. I bet you do. We always we'll find some in the garage or something, like, oh yeah, these are from 15 years ago.
A little bag.
Yeah. But I remember, do you remember?
I don't dare light one today.
No. Do you remember firing those off at the before you get on to your next one, firing those off at the trains. Because Aunt Kathy's house was right by that train track, and we'd wait for the trains to come by, and then we'd be like, all right, light them. We'd shoot them off at the train.
We never fired them at moving trains. We never did anything illegal with the fireworks. But we did have fun.
We did have fun with them, yeah.
We had a lot of fun. Yeah, those and the little snappers. I always liked the little snappers a little bit. I tried taking a few of them apart. Like at first I would unbundle one of them or two of them, and I'd pour them together and rebundle it, and it would still snap. But then I figured out that like after there's a certain point where it just doesn't snap anymore, and you're just kind of wasting them. So I kind of liked disassembling them and figuring out how they worked, and then trying to like do a little something different with them. I don't know. That was always something I enjoyed. Or the little, I don't know what you call them. They were like mini black cats.
Oh yeah.
And they had a little string on either end of them, and you just pull them and they'd pop.
Oh no, those. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. No. Yeah, the little like kite string coming out of either end of it, and it was really just the string overlapping with some of the explosive. I don't know what explosive powder they use on the part of the string where it overlaps, and then wrapped in paper to hold it together. And then whenever you pulled it, that friction would cause that to ignite, and it would pop really quick. And so I liked those. Those were always a lot of fun. If you pulled them slow enough, you could pull them apart without popping them.
I love how you've like reverse engineered all these and know they all work.
Like I said, that was something I really got into, was just taking them apart and figuring them out. I just like knowing how things work. Yeah. And that I always enjoyed. And then I always enjoyed taking those and just hiding them around the house, tying them to every doorknob and doorstop and everywhere. So as everybody walks to the house, it's just like pop, pop, pop.
Who was that? There was a brief amount of time when Dad was, I can't remember what her name was. He was dating somebody, and he took us over to her house for something. She wasn't home, and you and I like tied her doors with those things. And I don't think we told him that we had done that. Like somehow we snuck them over there. I don't know. But I remember doing that.
Well, we just after the 4th of July, it was known that we always had fireworks on us at all times.
I remember
whenever it didn't get used was in my pockets.
Yeah. I remember you taking like the string of black cats with like the paper fuse, and you would light them and then set them underneath, like you had like a dog bowl, and you'd set them underneath there, and then put your hand on or put your foot on it. And just, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was always fun. I always like to also take a couple and hide them, and this was probably. I learned pretty quickly not to do this one. This one was, don't do this one. This one's evil. But I would take a couple black cats and I would bury them in the fire. So whenever we go to light like a fire for the 4th of July, one of them would pop. And inevitably, but I think I got lucky, and it only happened once. And then every other time it rained around the 4th of July. So I would put them out there like the day before. Being all sneaky, and then it would rain and they'd be wet, or the morning dew would roll through and they would be wet and they wouldn't go off. They would burn before they actually like exploded. But yeah, that was I don't recommend that. I regret that one. That was not a nice one. I didn't think that one through. But that lady, I remember we were talking about this. One of the last times I was up there, you mentioned that you actually go to church with her now.
Yeah. I haven't seen her for a while, but she was going to my church for a while. I need to ask her about that. I feel bad because we have several people that go to church, and I am really bad at remembering names. I can remember faces, but unless I see you on like a daily basis or your family, like. Yep. I just can't remember.
We need to have daily conversations, or I'm not going to remember who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just how that goes.
So if she's listening, I'm sorry. I will say hi to you at church, and you can tell me your name again. So, yeah. So my go-to ones, of course,
Yes.
I was a little younger, but I always had to have smoke bombs. I liked the big ones. I liked the small ones.
Those are good.
I enjoyed.
They made really big ones too.
Oh yeah, those.
Like I remember they
mammoth
made ones that were like probably almost the size of this microphone.
Oh yeah, they were huge, and they would burn and smoke and smoke and smoke and smoke and smoke for. It seemed like for 5 minutes. I know they probably weren't that long, but they seemed like forever. And I'd get those, and the parachutes. I loved the parachutes. I just loved shooting those things off. And the things that I didn't like was I liked watching the nighttime fireworks, but I didn't like shooting them off. I remember like I'd go and either sit on like Dad or Aunt Kathy's lap or something, and you'd be out there usually firing off the nighttime stuff because it freaked. And to this day, like at night, for several years, I would help Landon shoot off the nighttime fireworks. But now that he's old enough, he's 17, so he just, like, we'll just let him shoot them off, and then I sit back and enjoy them. But yeah, I loved. We did this, I think maybe 2 or 3 years in a row. We would get the fireworks, and then we would go to like Walmart or something, and we would get a bucket of Army men. Do you remember doing that? Mm-hmm. Like those green plastic Army men, and have like a little war with them. Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Launch different things back and forth, or just set them up, and then we would get. I remember. So if you took that pack of black cats and you unraveled it, you would have this nice long section of fuse. And I want to say they even sold like little reels of just the fuse you could buy. And we would set up the Army men and then put the little black cats everywhere, around them, underneath of them, whatever. Like we'd stage it out and then run that fuse and loop it through each of the fuses for those black cats, and then light it, and it would go off like a little like movie scene. It would just like explosion after explosion after explosion, and we'd play out this little like movie in our minds or whatever. But yeah, that was always a lot of fun. And then the snakes, I like the snakes, the little like charcoal things. You light them, and those were just magical. It was just like this little pellet would turn into this like foot long thing. It was just awesome. I always enjoyed those. Or chaining together different fireworks. I always liked chaining things together and then creating kind of like a little scene out of it. I always liked that. It was 4th of July. I enjoyed it. I haven't set off 4th of July fireworks in probably 15, 16 years, something like that.
I don't like to really anymore. We do it for the kids, and because we usually go out to like my in-laws' house, and they're out in the country, and we can shoot stuff off. But we do it for the kids. But before I had kids, I wouldn't shoot them off, because I'm like, I might as well take a $50 bill and light the thing on fire, because that's about what we're doing with this. We go and watch the city fireworks show every year, and that's always very pretty. I enjoy going to like the fireworks shows now that the town puts on, and you got like food trucks or whatever, and then you can enjoy their fireworks performance, if you will. And they always run like they'll have like a band or something like that playing sometimes or whatever. I enjoy those. But like I said, the last time I actually set them off was probably about 15, 16 years ago. It was the summer before we got married and we found out about Taylor and all that. But I had a friend that I worked with, and he has like a farm just outside of town that you can set off fireworks in, and he would invite a bunch of people over, like we're talking like 40 people would all come over, and
set up. He had a big plot of land. We'd all set up like tents or whatever, sleep in your car or whatever, or, leave if you feel like leaving. But we'd do that, and just like everybody would bring just like coolers of beers and drinks and food, and they'd have like different fire pits going on with different people making different things. It was very communal. It was always a lot of fun. And a couple of the guys would get together and go buy like thousands of dollars of just like industrial fireworks, like the big like balls with the fuse on the end of it. And then they'd set up these tubes, these pipes at the other end of the field. And we go, and then the last year I was there, one of the guys that did it, he was like, hey, you want to come out and set off the fireworks with us? And I was like, yeah. So I went out there with them, and we were just setting up all the, we'd set up all the little tubes and like chain them all together and then light it. And then like we'd have like 2-3 of these little tube things set up about 15 feet apart from one another. So while one of them's going off, you're setting up the next one so that it can go off while the next one's getting, and then it was just kind of like this constant like rotation of fireworks. And that was a lot of fun, but they were loud. And there was a couple scary moments where the tube got knocked over, and you're like, it's coming this way. And everybody would have to like clear out of the way. And it would just like skip across the ground, and then it would just go off somewhere. But it's always wet. So we weren't worried about like creating a fire or anything like that, but that was a lot of fun.
We've had that happen a couple of times.
But yeah, like ever since then, it's just been do city fireworks. Oh yeah. We've had like there's been a couple times where like it's the things like those artillery shells shot off into the air, and then like they blow up before they're supposed to. Like they get just clear the house, really close, and then they blow up, and you're like, whoa, okay, maybe we ought to be done for the night. I know we went and saw one like 2 or 3 years ago, and we're set up in the bed of the truck, laying down, watching the fireworks, and they're like right on top of us. Like we just got fortunate that we got really close, or when we pulled up and we were like, hey, there's nobody here, it should have been a sign that maybe you don't want to park here, because as we're watching the fireworks, it's raining down debris on us. And a couple of times they went off like fairly close, and it was still burning embers raining down on and around us. And we're like, I mean, we stuck it out, but maybe next time we'll park a little further away.
So what do we?
But 4th of July, it's always fun.
Make sure you're safe this 4th of July. It's coming right up.
That's right. Be safe.
Be safe and enjoy.
You know what is interesting? I saw whenever I was looking into this. You said this came out in '94. Mm-hmm. This came out January 2nd, 1994.
This 96.
July 2nd.
July 2nd, 96. Yep.
96? I thought it was 94.
No,
96. Okay, July 2nd, 96. This episode is releasing July 2nd, 2024.
Perfect. 28 years later.
But, July 2nd. Yeah.
Gosh, this movie's almost 30 years old.
So, next week, I get to make the pick, and I'm going to pick The Mummy.
Oh, yes.
Because that's one of my favorite movies.
It's great.
I enjoy a good Brendan Fraser movie. Yes. And I am stoked that they are doing a third one, or a fourth one, rather.
Are they?
And he's returning for it. So, yes.
That'll be good.
So, Mummy, next week, 1999's The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, if you want to watch along. Until then, we've reached another checkpoint, my friends. Sharing is caring. Reviews help a lot. And keep those tokens ready. Until next time.
See you next time. Have a safe 4th of July.
Yes. Safe 4th of July.
This podcast takes tokens is a Clay Street production.
All right. So, well, if anybody stuck around, we are reading our Spotify responses and some YouTube comments we got. On Spotify, we have a survey or a question or something kind of related to the episode. Each one of them is different. And some people have taken the time to respond to those. And we're gonna review those right now. So first up, Ghostbusters episode number 3. We have the question, who was your favorite Ghostbuster? And we finally got a response. With one vote, who do you think is the favorite Ghostbuster? You're 0 for right now.
Man, I am. I'll probably still be batting 0. Egon.
No, Peter
Gosh.
Venkman. Peter
No
Venkman.
way. I was going to say Venkman, and I was like, nah, it's got to be Egon.
That's too obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, Venkman with one vote. So right now, Venkman is listed as the number 1. That was weird. We got a little chime. I wonder if we can only go up to 2 hours.
Maybe.
We'll see if it cuts us off. I'll trim this. Next up, we have The Burbs, episode number 5. We asked simply, does this movie deserve a place on the cult classic mantle? And we've actually had a response to this before that we've talked about. And we got a vote for yes, it's a classic. But we got another vote. Care to venture a guess where that one went?
Don't tell me they put no. I'm going to say yes.
Oh, you finally win one.
Wow.
Yes, we have 2 votes for yes, it is a classic.
It is.
So your classic is catching some cult status.
2 other people,
if you will,
in the world agree with me.
appreciate this. Yes. Moving right along, X-Men episode number 8. Who was your favorite X-Men is the question we asked. And whenever we ask the question open-ended, it actually tells us who responded. Whereas if we ask a question with selectable answers, a survey question, if you will, it doesn't tell us who responded or anything like that. But we can take the open-ended questions and we can actually publish them as part of the episode, and I do that whenever we review them. And so, who is your favorite X-Men? Well, Fozzie Guy answered Wolverine. Gambit is a close second. I would agree. Wolverine is my favorite, I think, but Gambit isn't my second favorite. But he is. I think I appreciate Gambit more now than I did as a child, for sure. For sure. Episode 9, E.T. We had another survey question. We asked peanut butter M&Ms or Reese's Pieces.
And Reese's Pieces was
And
one.
we got another response. Yes, last time we did already have a response where Reese's Pieces got a vote. We got another vote. Care to venture a guess who?
Peanut butter M&Ms. Got to be tied.
Peanut butter M&Ms, that's right. Peanut butter M&Ms. We have a 50-50 now, 50-50 split between peanut butter M&Ms and Reese's Pieces. So, if you feel one way or another, you should, you can sway that vote pretty easily. You'll have a 33% weight on that vote right now. Moving on to episode 14, we watched Vacation. The original Vacation movie, classic Chevy Chase. And we asked, what was the best road trip accessory from your childhood? Once again, Fozzie Guy came through and answered this open-ended question. Any guesses what Fozzie Guy likes to bring in a childhood
Is
road trip?
he joining me with the Game Boy?
No, I was kind of surprised. No, Goosebumps books.
Oh.
I have no issues reading in the car.
Good choice,
Goosebumps
man.
books.
Those were great. Great books.
Those were awesome. For those who enjoyed reading. Moving on, Sandlot, episode 15. What was your favorite summertime activity? This was an open-ended one. So we asked, what was your favorite summertime activity? Which I think was the question we proposed during that episode too. So you kind of a little interaction there. Maybe we'll just make that going forward. We'll just tie the questions together like that.
Yeah, I like that.
Unless something else like Ghostbusters. Who's your favorite Ghostbuster? That makes a little more sense, perhaps. But because you can only put one, But anyways, so yeah, Sandlot episode 15. What was your favorite summertime activity? Fozzie Guy, again, our number one fan right now. Answers: going to the Chillicothe pool. We had slides! Exclamation point. So yes, this is a hometown friend we have here. Chillicothe pool, man, I remember going there. I remember when they put in those slides. I remember before they had the slides and then after they had the slides. That was game I always enjoyed going to the pool. No, putting the slides in for sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what was scarier though, the closed one or the open. I think the open one terrified me a little bit because I was always afraid that I was going to go out of it. Yeah. I don't know why. But then the closed one kind of tapped into my claustrophobia. Yeah, and it was really fast. But yeah, I still enjoyed them. I mean, you know, it's one of those things as a kid you learn to like. These are the things that taught us to like overcome our fears, to face them, and maybe not overcome them because I'm still probably suffering from some version of the same fear. But you know, I at least learned to walk out there and give it a shot. Hold my head up high, if you will. So next, episode 7. This one came in, I think, just yesterday. So it's a little out of order. But Halo episode 7, we asked, what's the best game in the original Halo trilogy? Halo Combat Evolved, Halo 2, or Halo 3? We got an answer. Any guess what the best one with one answer is right now from our fans?
3.
No. 2.
2. Wow.
I was surprised. I thought it was going to be 1.
Yeah,
so.
that was going to be 3. 3 was my favorites.
Well, yeah. We got 2. So if you want to sway it to 3, you know, it's a 50-50. It would be a 50-50. You know, you'd hold a lot of weight. Right now, this person's holding 100% of the weight. I'm willing to bet it's Fozzie Guy. I think Fozzie Guy went through and discovered that we have all these different questions and answered them all for us, and we appreciate that very much. So. But moving on to YouTube, we have a couple comments on some of our on our episodes. This one's it's a comment. It's not much of a response we can give, so I gave the best response I could. The comment was for Vacation episode 14. I may butcher this. Well, maybe not. Anthony BHA4510 says,
hey, Anthony.
Hysterical.
Yes.
Hysterical.
Fantastic.
One word
sums
it up pretty well. I don't know if he was talking about us or the movie, but either way, I appreciate it.
That's been my favorite episode that we've done so far. I had so much fun doing that. It was a lot of fun.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I feel like that was a good, that was a bit of a turning point or a stepping stone, if you will, for us as far as our journey here. And last but not least, we have an answer, or we have a comment on YouTube to the episode 15 Sandlot episode that just came out. Oh, no, sorry, we have 2 more comments. This one is for the Sandlot episode 15 that just came out, probably about a week and a half before recording this episode. Time travel is funny. And at Left in the Dryer says, one of my all-time favorite movies, loved it. Again, I don't know if he loved us or if he loved the movie, but you know, I appreciate it. I'm going to take it as us.
You and me, man. You and me.
That's right.
I love this movie so much. Yes.
Yes. That was, like I said, man, I was surprised. That was I really enjoyed watching that movie.
Yeah. It's good.
So, one more comment. That's all we got left on the YouTube comments. But, you know, you bring them, we'll read them.
Please.
Terminator 2, episode 16 at 230K19, which I thought, that's got to be made up. It's made up, but the account actually has videos on it. So it's a fairly legitimate account.
Okay.
Just with a name that I'm sure holds some meaning to its owner. But they decided to take it upon themselves to answer our question. And the question, if you remember, that I proposed during that episode was, Something along the lines of, what's a mashup that you wish you could go back and make from any time? And they say the Terminator and the Matrix.
Oh,
which is very interesting.
Yes, that is
That
a
would be
good
very
choice.
interesting.
I would watch that. I would totally watch that.
Yes.
Yes.
Neo, come with me if you want to live. Yeah, so we got some Spotify comments. We got answers to our questions and some YouTube comments as well. If you want to leave your own, please do so. We would love to read them on the air for you and maybe even spark some conversation.
Yeah. We love hearing from you. Keep them coming.
And, hit the email too.
Yeah.
thispodcasttakestokens@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram at thispodcasttakestokens. But until next week.
See you then.
We'll see you.